Okay, so then we rolled the shoulder out, we rolled the head out. Okay, you're gonna go ahead and massage the jaw next.
Oh, that's
Okay.
a whole other thing. Ooh.
Yeah, do you have
TMJ.
TMJ? Okay, that's another thing that's
I've got
a little bit of challenge.
constraints. Yeah.
Because this is where your sound resonates inside your mouth, so we want lots of space in there. Good. Take 2 fingers and press into one side. Might feel a little tender. Yeah, where like the hinge of your jaw is, yeah. So it might feel a little bit tender, if you have some tension there.
It's alright.
Okay. We'll do the other side.
My heart is racing today.
Oh. Get the heel of the hand down the side of your jaw and just applying some pressure.
This is good stuff to do.
Yeah. Good. This might be something that you might want to do like in the mornings when you wake up and before you go to bed if you have TMJ too, because it's gonna, I know I even do that, grind my teeth when I'm like stressed and stuff at night.
There it is.
Yeah. Good. And then you're going to take your thumbs and put them under your chin, and we're just making little circles there. This building's been more creepy since all the rain, I don't know.
You said since all the rain?
Yeah.
Expanding.
Yeah.
And this heat too.
Yes, that's true as well. The weather's been very erratic.
Oh yeah.
Take 2 fingers behind your ears and run down your neck. Good. So what we were doing with those little circles before was we were massaging the root of the tongue to make sure it stays loose, because sometimes what singers will do is pull their tongue back and we get this kind of dopey sound.
Oh.
So we wanted to stay in the front, which will keep the larynx in a more neutral position and guide the sound more out.
Okay.
Okay. Where we're doing this, we're massaging around the muscles in the vocal cords to keep them loose too, so everything can stretch and expand inside. All right, we're gonna do a big yawn inside like this. Good. All right, so and then we're gonna stick your tongue out and bring it back. Good. So that's, again, it's encouraging that frontal placement of the tongue. Okay. Let's spin it one way. And the other way. And we're gonna say ticka 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 ticka. Good. You're really fast at that. Okay, so that's articulation of certain words, that we need to be able to get through consonant sounds pretty quickly when we're singing. We don't want them to impede the flow of sound. Massage your lips.
Sorry, I used to play French horn and I would play with Gilbert and Sullivan, so
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Again. So those are called lip trills. They're really helpful for managing the airflow, understanding where the sound is in your body, because we can't touch it, we can't see it for voice, but that there's a better sense of where it is. And it simulates what's happening inside, because the vocal cords are should be gently touching and kind of fluttering past each other inside. So we know that our body likes to sync things up, right?
Yeah.
You have to think about that a little bit more. So if we're doing something on the outside that reflects what's happened on the inside, it's more likely that our body will listen to what we're trying to make happen. Okay, so with breathing for singing, we breathe using the lower abdominal muscles. So on the inhale, the belly should come out, and as you exhale, it pulls back to the spine. Okay? Yeah, that's it. Good job. Yeah. The shoulders never move up and down, because when we do that, we're creating tension around the vocal cords, and also when we lift the rib cage, it's got weight to it and it wants to pull back down because of gravity. And that pulling back down makes it very difficult to release the air slowly, which then makes it harder to get through long phrases. But also, if there's too much air that comes through at one time, it can overwhelm the vocal cords and make the sound really airy, because it pushes them apart and the sound leaks. Okay? Sense? And the air is also important for stabilizing pitch too. Yeah. stretching the muscles of the neck here. And the shoulders. Bring your shoulders down to your, or look down at your toes. Good. And take one hand off the ear, opening this muscle up.
I hope I remember these.
Well, that's why I'm recording it.
Oh, can it see you though? You gotta get in the picture.
Take one hand to opposite cheek. Good. All right, put your hands on your belly. We're gonna do some little hisses like this. One hand on your chest and one hand on your lower belly. Breathe into your lower belly so that your belly button expands. And let it out. Inhale. And let it out. One thing that you're going to have to be careful of, Simone, is
I know, this is a big problem for me.
Yeah.
So
let me show you a couple.
I have to turn it, like basically turn it here.
Yeah, you gotta
and then it's not so much pulling here as turning
lifting,
here.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can definitely work on that by standing against the corner of a wall like this. So you would put your spine against the corner of the wall and line it up, and then you can feel everything's supposed to be in alignment. Okay? All right. So if you want to stand over here, you don't have to stand in frame if you don't want to. And I'm going to do a quick assessment of your voice. Because I want to see what it needs.
That's great.
Yeah. I'll start a little lower. Are you an alto or do you know?
I thought I was an alto. Do I sound like an alto speaking?
Alto or maybe mezzo.
Okay.
Yeah, alto one or mezzo, I would guess. But we'll see. We'll see if I'm right. Yeah, it seems like you have a little bit of a lower speaking voice. So we're gonna start down here. We're gonna say gig, gig, gig. You probably won't have to see my face for this one, okay? So we're gonna say gig, gig, gig. Like me and my band have a gig tonight, like this. Gig, gig, gig. Ready?
Gig, gig, gig. 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 Gig, gig, gig.
Overall, and your pitch is good. You blended pretty well going into the higher range too. So that little, when it got a little lighter, that's your head voice coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about that sound?
I don't know.
Okay, because you said your head voice was something that you didn't like, but maybe in certain artists you don't like it.
Well, I don't like it with amateurs. I think somebody will come out and they'll sing in the it's like they're soprano, but they're singing in the head voice, and I think it just sounds like there's nothing there.
Like there's no core to the sound.
Yeah.
Yes. That's probably a focus issue, and it might be a breath control issue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's too airy.
Yeah.
Up there. Yeah. It needs a little forward resonance and a little focus. I maybe guess that your vibrato was just maybe a hair heavy on the last note if I was being like ultra picky, which I feel like I can be. I think other things, well, because I think overall it was very nice. I think other things will come to light as we go through some other sounds here. I do think it was like a mezzo range, like lower mezzo, where it shifted, which I think was what Maya was too. So the family tends to run that way. I'm just going to grab my whiteboard really quick. So just write down my thoughts of what I would like to work on. So I just think we're going to work a little bit more on flow and just keeping things open in the sound.
Yeah. I noticed that I struggle in that space that in between chest and head space.
Very common.
That's where the voice will crack. That's where things go
that's
off
very,
the rails.
very common.
Yeah.
Very common. And there's a couple of key things that you want to keep in mind. One is to think a little bit more forward with the sound, a little bit narrower and more forward with the placement of the sound. Okay. So like N's and M's and that kind of nasal resonance can really help there. And the other thing is to think actually a little bit more in the head voice, because what the cracking is actually not unhealthy or bad like the way that we think it is. I mean, I wouldn't push anyone on stage who was cracking around with their voice, but it's your voice protecting itself when the pressure between the cords gets to be too much for the amount of stretch that it needs to hit the note.
Okay.
So what the cords do is they bounce apart.
Okay.
So it's actually like...
That's telling you should be using the head.
Yeah, you need to use more head voice.
Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes what happens, I don't think in your case as much, because you, like I said, you blended pretty well. Sometimes I actually encourage people to let their voice crack, because if they've been holding on so tight to their voice, they need to know what it feels like to release that tension.
Okay.
You know, even if it's not pretty at first, because those students tend to try to brute force their way through that switch that you're talking about and end up yelling at the top.
Okay.
So that wasn't your issue. So what I would say is just you want to think ahead of time before you get there.
Yeah.
And start to blend in a little bit more head voice and a little bit more forward resonance. That nasal.
Forward resonance is how you
that
blend.
nasal resonance. That kind of buzz in the front. Okay.
I'm doing it now. A little
yes,
bit.
you are. It's so great that you're already aware of where that is. Most people have no concept of that. Like they can't understand where it is in their body in the beginning.
Well, I noticed you work with a lot of Indian students, at least happened, and I studied the languages, and there's a lot with whether it's in the front or the back.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it is interesting because some of the students from those backgrounds really struggle to find the forward placement. We had to work on that a little bit. Yeah. So it's interesting that you say that. Okay, we'll start there, and then I'll go more as we go along, and I understand more what's going on. Okay, so we're gonna start with lip trills. Okay, which are those sound, but we're gonna do it on pitches like this. Can you try that? Good. Okay. Now, just give them a little massage. We're gonna try it again. If we're still having trouble keeping it going, I have a little method that can help you. Okay. That was almost there. Okay. So what you're gonna do is you're going to find the corners of your lips. Don't tug or pull the skin, but glide your fingers over the skin until you're just below the lip corners. Okay. Then push your cheeks up like this. Okay. Just a little bit further down, Simone. There you go. Push them up. Very good. Get them into the right placement. I have to take one finger down because I've got to play the piano.
Yes.
Okay. And you're gonna do. Is that funny? Yeah. Keep going. The sound that the letter V makes, like that. Okay, it's gonna feel a little tickly. The lip trills might have felt a little tickly too. Okay, so it's gonna go like that. Good. Yeah, just take your time now. Slower on the way up and think about a more gradual hill on the way down.
Do I want it to, you're going kind of in an interval, do I want it to kind of slide more? Okay.
Yeah. I can't really do that on the piano, but yeah, it would be.
Okay. Try it.
So you can just slow it down a little bit. But you are getting a little bit of the gradual. Again, like some people can't do that and they just go or we end up with not hitting the pitch. So the fact that we're sliding up and down to it and all is pretty good. You just need to stretch it a little bit more.
Okay. What is that doing?
I was just gonna tell you.
Oh.
So it's basically work on that slow stretch of the vocal cords while keeping the closure at the same time. Okay, so we have that nice blended sound into the head voice. And the V, the sound is playing double duty actually too, because the V sound is really good for managing airflow, because it creates a filter in the front of the mouth so it doesn't just all splat out at one time. So, all right, we're gonna do a slide again, but it's a different sound. It's an NG sound, like the word sing, that kind of sound. You're gonna feel a lot of forward resonance. So this one's more working forward resonance and that slow closure or slow stretch of the vocal cords, okay? So it's gonna be good. You may hear a little cracking and flipping. Yeah. That is okay, because your voice is trying to figure, oh, okay, how do I make this work, you know? Yeah. And so it's stumbling a little bit, okay? But as long as you don't respond to that cracking with, oh my God, I gotta hold it really tight, tension, then your voice will figure it out. Okay? It's kind of like when you were a baby and you were learning how to walk, right? You didn't get up and like start walking perfectly. You stumbled and fell down a couple times. But if you hadn't tried, then you wouldn't have learned how to walk, right? So your muscles need to figure out how to get this coordination down. Pretty good there. That was pretty smooth. Good. That's right. Good. Almost. It's starting to work itself out at the end there. Good job. All right. So we're gonna sing on ah. Okay, like this. Ah. About the flipping.
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, okay. So a lot of what we're doing with the slides and stuff is going to help with that.
Okay.
It is. But it's a planning. You're probably holding on a little too tight on the bottom, and you just need to let go a little bit more and relax the sound, okay? So not put so much heavy sound, like a lot of volume and pressure on the bottom, because it makes your voice kind of like it doesn't want to move. It kind of becomes this weight that it can't move up and down.
I see.
Okay? And when you're on the way back down and you have that cracking, you want to think about almost like if you're putting something down that's really heavy but fragile, you're gonna slowly, you don't just let it drop, okay? Because what's happening in there is your vocal cord system is tilted up like this, okay? When we're in head voice. Okay, when we're in that higher range, it's tilted up, and all the air is going to the back of the head. It's flowing over the air, over the cords, and going back here, which makes that more whistly kind of quality. When we go into the lower range, it tilts the other way, like this, and then the sound comes more out through the mouth for our chest voice. But what happens is, a lot of times when people are going quickly from the upper range into the lower range, they just let this kind of drop. And it's like, if you're driving like a manual car or something and it's not perfectly coordinated, okay? And there ends up being a little bit of like shakiness, jerking around. Yeah, exactly. So we want to put it down really slowly. Kind of like if you were doing an abdominal roll down like this. Okay,
you get to the point where you can feel it. I mean, I
think you do. Yeah, I think you do.
Okay.
So just think about, but right now, just think about putting it down gently. A really simple way to say it would be think about sing a little bit more quietly as you go down. That will help. Right. That's not the whole picture, but that will help a little bit thinking about that.
I have noticed that I sound better in that space when I'm quieter. So
yeah, when you descend, just be a little quieter, because when you put that extra weight on it, it really thickens those vocal cords, and then they're going to slam down like this. Because when you go into chest voice, they get shorter and thicker, and that's what causes that movement in the opposite direction. But we want to do it in such a gradual way that the voice doesn't have that jerking around. Okay. I call it kerplunking.
Kerplunk.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see if we can try and think about that. Not too bad. I I think you're a little scared there still at the end.
Okay.
We're holding on a little bit, gripping it a little bit. Good. Good, yeah. We can work on
Not quite staying on tune, but
yeah, but we moved through the registers. I know it was probably a little lighter than you wanted it to, but let's see if we can move through seamlessly first.
All right.
It's gonna be weaker at first when we do this because it's a new skill and it's hard to get the power and the movement at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna sing new, 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 and you. Separate sounds than continuous, which is not surprising. Most people find it a little easier to do separate sounds like that and kind of keep everything stabilized because it's just little quick movements of the chord as opposed to this big stretch. We're gonna sing on G, G-U-H, okay? Ga, 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 like that.
Ga, ga, ga.
Yep. How that was easier?
Yeah.
That last one didn't crack on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That was really good. That sound seemed to work really nicely for you. It threw it into the voice into the right placement. Last one, woo, W-O-O, like this. Woo. Oh, look out, it's another slide, okay?
Right.
We're starting from the top and going down and coming back up this time. So it's like a valley, okay? Good job, Simone. Good. That one I think is really going to help you with that tricky area too.